What's good? It's your boy Cam back with another video, man. Going off in a tangent, bro. I'm going off on a tangent, bro. I'm working late tonight, man. Working late tonight. I'm trying to give y'all the best content that I can give y'all, man. Let's take this off there, man, so y'all can see me full screen. Very, very impressed with the viewership on these videos, man. I am a, let's just say, glass half full kind of guy. I think even though the views is like not like crazy high, I'm just glad somebody watching. You feel me? So I appreciate those people that take the time to watch the videos that we produce on a daily basis. Shorts, everything, man. 31,000 of y'all tune into our content, man. Whether it be the shorts, whether it be the long view, whether it be the lives, whatever. We appreciate that, man. But let's keep growing, man. Um, we got a whole bunch of content for y'all, man. Like I said, if you're a real fan, you'll probably go all the way back and watch everything. But if you're a new person, man, join our community, man, and like and subscribe to our channel. We got a couple of OGs on there that let you know how we do things around here, man. But nonetheless, man, we're everywhere. Socials at the bottom, and but thank you. That's what we'll start with. Thank you to all of y'all that's been with us for this journey, and we appreciate it. But let's get into today's conversation, man. So if you watch the intro, you know we're talking about the Houston Texans and their first picks since 2002 because they weren't around in 2000. So, short history for your Houston Texans, man. They were granted a franchise, I think, around 2000, and then they started playing in 2002, right? So, um, pretty cool to kind of grow up and see the Houston Texans grow from an expansion team with a lot of ragtag bunch of guys that just want to be the first team to play, basically, and grow into a pretty valuable team, valuable and viable team, right? We've seen some teams get expansion leagues get expansion teams and they just can't get any footing and then they gotta move the team somewhere else. But the Houston Texans are there to stay, especially since they lost the Oilers, who became the Tennessee Titans in the 90s. So yeah, but without further ado, let's talk about the Houston Texans' first round hits and misses since their first season in 2002. Man. So this has been a fun franchise, man. Some ups and some downs, but I can honestly say it's a lot more ups than you think, man. A lot more ups than you think. So let's go. Let's start with the obvious, man. Let's talk about David Carr, right? David Carr has had some interesting takes, let's just say that, on his media career. But his football career, man, was a little underrated, man. So I'll start. I'll start with the first year, obviously. So the Houston Texans, began playing football around the 2002 season. Their first head coach was Dom Capers. He was quite good. Vic Fangio, old man Vic, who just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, was their defensive coordinator back then. And Dom Capers was a defensive guy, right? So when you think about Dom Capers, you would think like, oh, well, defensive guy. Let's draft a defensive dude, first overall, right? But following the NFL playbook, man, when you need a quarterback and you're just starting, um, you need a you need to start it off right. You need to get a franchise quarterback at some point. And why not start off right now, right? You draft him first overall in this draft, and from what I was reading, he was signed before the draft even started, so they knew that they were going to pick him. My thing is when you're drafting a quarterback and he hasn't played the top competition, you really gotta know what you're getting, right? That's my, I would say, expert analysis, right? You really gotta know what you're doing. But, but when you're an expansion team, you need a face. You need a face to go with your team. And I don't necessarily think that David Carr was the best player in the draft, which it turned out he was not. But when you're drafting first overall and you're trying to just put a a face to your team, like we're gonna suck for a while, but you know what? He's gonna play and he's gonna be the guy. That's kind of where I think they were thinking, right? So I get both sides of the equation that people say, oh, he's not the best quarterback, whatever. But as we look at his college numbers, man, that last season, bro, I can see what they saw. You see a guy that is willing to throw the ball around the yard, right? He obviously has talent. That's not a question. But he not only threw for 4,800 yards, he also threw a lot of touchdowns too. So yeah, you can say it was the WAC conference, the Western Athletic Conference, right? You can say all of that. You can say what you want. I don't care. This is is quite good. Quite good, man. All right. So when you think about, hey, apples and oranges and things like that, what are we really doing? You know, what are we really doing? Right? When you think about David Carr, right? Why was he picked over why was he picked over Joey Harrington, right? And why was it seemed like it was such an easy decision, in my opinion, right? Why was he picked over Joey Harrington, right? We went over the Lions and in our last couple videos, man, but I had to bring this up. This is probably why he was picked over Joey Harrington, right? The production just wasn't there from a standpoint, right? And it could have been the offense. It could have been the offense, man. It could have been whatever, right? It could have been that, whatever. He just played the game the way it was, man. But when you think about the difference between these two guys, right, in terms of production in their senior years, that's why David Carr was picked, right? So let's get into David Carr's career now that we established that he was the better of the picks, right? So let's get into his career. Now I have an affinity for David Carr, just because he was the first quarterback they ever had one, and then two, he was the first player they drafted ever, right? And then three, for me, I think they gave up on him just too damn fast. Too damn fast, in my opinion. There's a couple things that I wish they would have got into a little bit sooner, right? So let's pay attention to a couple things as we break down David Carr, right? This will probably be my longest breakdown of a player throughout this because, like I said, me growing up, the Texans was a cool football team because in my lifetime, I really hadn't seen an expansion team. So I kind of followed the Texans a little closely. even though they were bad, because like I want to see how if they could get good at some point. You know what I'm saying? After being an expansion team and things like that. But I think they just gave up on them too fast. And two things stand out to me, right? So the first year he got sacked 76 times. To me, that means your offensive line is trash, right? But even with that, these are not bad numbers in terms of your rookie year on an expansion team. They won 4 games. 4 games with an expansion team, right? Guys just thrown together to play a fucking season. That's it. That's it. And then I think it might have been less sacks if Tony Baselli played. Because people forget Tony Baselli was a part of their team. He was. But he retired because of injuries. He was done after that. But this is one of the best offensive linemen ever. And he was a part of two. He was a part of two expansion teams. Because the Jaguars started in 95. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, they started in 95, right? So he was their first pick for them, right? So this would have been a cool guy to understand that hey, he's one of those ones, right? But as I mentioned, this is a team that's not very good. Like I said, if you had Tony Baselli to play, there might have been less sacks or whatever. But you do what you can. But I mean, Corey Bradford was pretty good. I think they had Jermaine Lewis, Jabbar Gaffney. These are all players that turned out to be okay. Aaron Glenn is now the head coach of the New York Jets. He played on that team. So you have a lot of guys on this team that maybe took the long road in the NFL, but damn it, they played pretty good. Jamie Sharper was a part of my 2000 Ravens that won the Super Bowl. But I mean, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's all I'm saying. But that's not bad considering you just had a ragtag bunch of dudes, right? So then I look at year two. Year two cut short because of injury. But then you see a shift in year three, right? Year three under Dom Capers, they start to add some talent, and then right the sacks are down by almost half. I mean, this is a great season, yards, touchdowns, whatever, right? You really turn a corner in 2004, and I'm like, okay, we can do something. We can do something with him. It's not that we drafted a guy that was bad or whatever. Nah, he was good. He was really good, and it had the best season to that point, 7-9. So you're thinking you can turn a corner, right? But in 2005, it seemed like he regressed a little bit, right? Sacks went up again. Um, and sacks giving up to the quarterback can be him, it can be offensive line. Let's be honest, right? But '06 wasn't terrible either, right? Obviously, you want him to get more touchdowns, right? You do. But at the same time, you want to look at a couple things to know that he was figuring it the fuck out. The sacks went down, so they obviously have more of a command of the offense, right? You should. It's year 5 of this team, of this staff, of this regime, right? But they gave up on him too fast in terms of completion percentage because he was figuring it out where to throw the ball, how to throw the ball, when to throw the ball. And they just needed some help, right? They just needed some more help. That's all. They needed some more help on defense. They needed some more help on offense. They needed a whole lot of shit on the Texans at that particular time. But I feel like they just gave up on them just a little too soon. But when you look at what happened in 2006. Gary Kubiak became the head coach, right? Dom Capers is gone. Um, that's just kind of how it goes, bro. Right? That's just how it goes. They want their guy. Usually, when you bring in a new GM and you bring in a new coach, and there's a holdover of guys from the old regime, including the quarterback that they drafted, the players that they drafted, they're gonna want their own team. They're gonna want their own guy, right? And that's kind of what I feel like happened, right? They kind of pushed him out for their own guy, which ended up being Matt Schaub, who their um, really became their um, their guy. You know, as we get into that, as we end this David Carr talk. After that, he became really good. He became probably their greatest quarterback so far. I mean, under Gary Kubiak, there was some growing pains, but they got to their first playoff uh, appearance ever. I want to say, what year was that? 2011. So I want to say that was the first year they got to the playoffs, and Matt Schaub was a part of that. But Matt Schaub had a whole lot of success. So it seemed like they knew what they were doing when they moved on from David Carr. And and that's kind of what it is, man. That's kind of what happened, man. But I feel like David Carr got the short end of the stick. I thought maybe you'd be a little bit more aggressive in free agency going into 2006. I think you try to sign a couple more people. Like, you try to do some stuff, man. I mean, you can't sign Eric Moles in 2006. You can't do that. You can't do that. No, that's not a good move because his best years is past him. If you get Eric Moles in 2000, then maybe we can talk. But you had no team then. Hell, if you got him in 2001, because he still has some good years left. But you can't do that. You gotta make some moves. But you also know that this is a new regime, right? So I say all that to say I think David Carr for the Texans was a hit, considering everything he had to go through and how good he played in stretches, including '04, '05, and '06. He played pretty good and he started doing some things really well. And I enjoyed watching him grow as a player. My bad, I'm back, y'all. My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. I fucked up. But But I enjoy watching David Carr grow as a player and this franchise grow, man. But for me personally, I think he was a hit. He ended up being a champion later on in his career as well. But as we move on to their second pick in franchise history, that became Andre Johnson, man. So they got lucky because the Lions drafted Charles Rogers first at number two. So I personally think Charles Rogers may have been the most pro-ready receiver. But as I mentioned on my Lions video, Andre Johnson was clearly the better potential. He had the higher ceiling, in my opinion. Um, really good. I mean, Hall of Famer now. Um, he should be a college football Hall of Famer soon as well, but he's an NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer, receptions leader. His run between 2009, 8 through 2009 was absolutely sensational. All pro those years, everything. Like he was good. Like you could argue between him and JJ Watt, those are the two best players in franchise history. Um, he was just that damn good. He's probably the, I don't even think it's close. I think he's the all-time leader in everything. Receptions, yards, touchdowns, receptions in the season, everything. All his. And I don't think it's gonna be broken for a long time. So this was a hit drastically, man. I think they gave him the reins early because I mean David Carr was throwing to him real good, real good, a whole lot. But it seemed like once he got, I guess, better quarterback play, that's when his numbers really took the fuck off. And this guy was good. He was damn good. So that's a hit. So '04 they had two first round picks, one being Donta Robinson and then Jason Babbitt. So Donta Robinson was good, and then he started asking for some money, which he was right to ask for. This was a hit. This was a hit. He was damn good for the Texans, man. Damn good. His first season was so good. They was trying him, and as the kids say, they fucked around and found out in year one. He picked off everything, and they learned quickly. All right, we can't really throw Robinson away. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. And he was good. I mean, he was good, and he was healthy, and he was playing. And then he asked for some money, and then they got rid of him. They got rid of him. The franchise tagged him. He wanted to get some money. And then he signed some big money with the Falcons, and he was okay with them. He was okay with them. I mean, they would probably prefer his Houston Texans days, but nonetheless, he was pretty damn good with the Texans, man, and he deserved to get some bread, man. So this was a hit, in my opinion, man. And then they drafted Jason Babin, who had a pretty good career. He was good with the Eagles too, by the way. I remember him with them. But with the Texans, it might not seem like he was that good because he was, like I said, he was really good in Philly. He had 18 sacks this season. But for the Texans, man, I think they were figuring him out a little bit because it seemed like at first, if I'm not mistaken, when I used to play Madden a lot back then, like '04 and shit, he was like an outside linebacker for real. Yeah, like outside linebacker. So he was more in space. But when he went to the Eagles, they played him at defensive end, and you see the difference. So I mean, Western Michigan. So they really did some scouting back then. I want to say their GM at the time was Charlie, yeah, Casserly, and he's one of those savants when it comes to being like scouting and all of that. He was one of them ones. Um, he got a bunch of Super Bowls. I want to say that's with Washington. So he did a lot of that. A lot of scouts, a lot of interning, GMs, things like that. He was really, really good. Really good. So he put the foundation for what the Texans became underneath Gary Kubiak. He put the him and Dom Capers put the foundation down. But Jason Babin was good. You can tell that they scouted back then because if you watching Western Michigan, you gotta really be doing your homework, and it turned out to be okay. Now, obviously, other teams got the better version of Jason of Babin, but for them, he did what he's supposed to do. He played his position and learned, and then he developed into something, right? But I call it a hit. for them because he did what he was supposed to do. So that's a hit for me. So then let's see, '05 they ended up drafting Travis Johnson. He was there for 4 years. He was out of the league by 2010. Um, I want to say he played defensive end. So when you're playing defensive end, and I don't think Dom Capers runs a 3-4 scheme. So even then, you still can get some sacks with your defensive end. So I'm gonna say this was a miss just because the production wasn't there. That's all. That's all, man. He might have been really good. I don't really remember him like that. But it didn't matter because '05 the Texans won 2 games. And then they had the chance to do some different stuff. So we go to the 2006 draft where they end up picking Mario Williams first overall. But this is the draft that had Mario Williams, Jay Cutler, Vernon Davis, Reggie Bush, Vince Young, AJ Hawk, Michael Huff, like a lot of guys, Matt Leinart, like they had a lot of dudes that they could have picked first overall, right? And they wanted a difference maker. Like I said, this is the era of Dom Capers. He's still no, this is Gary Kubiak's first year. I lied. But um, they wanted to draft a difference maker. And I don't think they had a guy like Mario Williams. And like I said, you're going into that last season with David Carr. So I'm thinking you want to see what you have. But I think when you look back on it, when I look back on it, I think the better player to draft at that particular time was probably Vince Young. Probably. Probably Vince Young. And I'll tell you why. Because Vince Young was from Texas anyway. They had just won the national title. Crazy game. I thought that would have been a better pick because one, you were gonna put some asses in the seats because the hometown kid is back. All right, he's staying in Texas. He ain't gotta go nowhere, right? I think from a football standpoint, now hear me out because I know some of y'all gonna be like, "Well, he quit on the team and he didn't play up to the potential, right?" But from a football standpoint, how exciting would it have been for him to be in Houston? Houston would have been on fire, and they would have been happy about that, right? But from what we learned during his Tennessee Titans run, there was a lot of off the field distractions between maybe his family, all of that shit. And him being so close to home might have not been a good move, right? And there you go, and knowing that Gary Kubiak was really from that Mike Shanahan tree and how he handled RG3, I don't think he wanted a quarterback that he had to teach how to drop back to pass because Vince Young wasn't necessarily a drop back passer. A lot of his stuff was in the shotgun. He didn't have to really go on the center and shit. So I don't think they wanted a quarterback like that they had to really work with. And the fact that they didn't have nobody like Mario Williams, like a straight dog pass rusher, right? I think that's why they end up taking Mario Williams first overall. That's my perspective. I could be wrong, but looking back on it, that's what I think happened. But Mario Williams was a success. He was a success for them. I mean, his first couple seasons, he had already 30 plus sacks already. This is a guy that ended up with almost 100, but he had about 30 in his first couple seasons, damn near 50, right? But He ends up leaving, obviously signing a big money deal with Buffalo, bro. Oh my God, 100 million, nice, 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 bro, nice deal. He was worth it. Production was there. Was paying him for what he did, and he continued to produce. Buffalo was just ass. But nonetheless, personally, I would have loved to see him finish his career in Houston, because I don't know if he overlapped, if he got there when J.J. Watt got there. I think J.J. Watt was like 11 or something like that. But we'll get into that and we go back and kind of see. But he was good. He was good. They didn't have nothing like Mario Williams on their team. And he turned out to be a hit, man. He turned out to be a hit. Pro Bowler, All Pro. Um, I don't necessarily know if he'll be I don't know if he's gonna be like a college Hall of Famer, but I do think he does have a case for an NFL Hall of Famer. I mean, he got like 97 sacks, Pro Bowler, All Pro. Like he did some cool shit, so he might get in there later on, man. But he was pretty good, dog. Pretty good. And then the next year they take young guy, '07. They take a Moby Okoye who was like 19. He's from Nigeria, so he got all his college done early. And he was drafted at 19. You know, he was with the Texans for 4 seasons. Um, he didn't do like what you would think, but he played a lot and he made a lot of tackles, man. As a defensive tackle, he had some sacks here. He was productive. So I'll call it a hit. But I think he ended up like getting. I think he ended up kind of. I think they wanted more. I think that's the reason why he didn't last that long. But youngest player taken, and he was productive. So I'm gonna call it a hit. But I think the Texans themselves wanted more out of him. So '08, they end up drafting Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown became, I guess, that franchise left tackle for them. He saw them through some of their playoff beginnings, and he made a lot of starts, played a lot of games, and he was pretty good, man. All pro a few times. That's three, 5-time Pro Bowler. Like I call it a hit, man, because he was there for a while. And then '09, they ended up taking Brian Cushing from USC. He ended up being the rookie of the year. Got popped for some steroids, but hey, everybody need a little bit of push nowadays, right? But he was productive, man. 100 tackles, a couple seasons. Played his whole career in Houston, by the way. Some good seasons, like I said, including Rookie of the Year. And he got a Pro Bowl and an All Pro as well. So turned out to be pretty good. He was one of those ones, man. He was good. He was part of, I want to say, Clay Matthews, Ray Maluga, and Brian Cushing were like really good at USC. So they had a Keith Rivers as well. They had a pretty good linebacking core around that time. So that was a good pick. Then they went the Alabama route. I like to go that route sometimes. And 20th overall, I take Kareem Jackson. Kareem Jackson is another stalwart. He was there for a while. Um, and pretty productive, man. I want to say, let's see, how many interceptions? Let's see. Let's see. I see 8, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17. So 17 interceptions throughout his whole Houston Texans career. And then turned out to be pretty good in Denver, too. He had some years left. He played a very long time, man. So I want to say he played almost ooh, 15, 14 years, 13, 14, something like that. He played a while, over 10, and he got like 22 interceptions. So he did pretty good for himself. He did pretty good. And with the Texans, he was damn good, right? Part of Nick Saban's first national championship team. He was actually part of Nick Saban's first team, too, in 2007. So this was a good pick. This was a hit for them. And then they go big. They go big, and went, they go big, go home. That's kind of what it is, right? And in 2011, they end up drafting J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt, as I mentioned, is probably on the short list of greatest Texans to ever play. I mean, three-time Defensive Player of the Year, All Pro, got some MVP votes. I mean, look at this. Look at this shit, man. 20 sacks. Like, come on, man. Like, there's 40 sacks in like 2 years, bro. Are you serious? Like, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Right? And his brother's really good too. So there you go. Right? Like I said, then he had some injury issues because he went hard, bro. He went hard. This 4 year stretch, I stacked it up with any player in NFL history. Nobody was doing this shit. Nobody was doing that shit. Nobody got a stretch like this in 4 seasons. He was going hard, dog. Hard. So when you're looking at his career and be like, well, damn, he really fell off. Well, when you trying to win a goddamn Super Bowl with a team that just started less than less than 20 years ago, like that's tough. Tough. So the injuries starting to stack up just a little bit. But even though he still ended up with a year with 16 sacks, four, and then in 2020, his last season there, where they went 4-12, and Deshaun Watson was the top five quarterback in the league. He had five. He had five. And then 2022, he ended up in his career with 12 in Arizona. So, like, this is, like I said, he's one of the best Texans ever, one of the best players ever. And he should be a Hall of Famer in a couple years. First ballot, in my opinion. Like I said, it's either Dwayne Brown, J.J. Watt, or Andre Johnson. Those are your top three Texans all time, right? And if you want to add like a Mount Rushmore, like, mm, shit, you might want to put Matt Schaub up in there, man, because they don't make the playoffs without him. So maybe them, maybe them. But we'll get into that a little later, man. But J.J. Watt was definitely a hit. Then they draft Whitney Marcellus, who was there for a long time as well too. Productive ass player. Like I said, he had about 55 sacks with them before he moved on to Green Bay for the last part of his career. He was good too. He was good too. So, like I said, he was there for about 8, 9 seasons. All pro. So that's a hit, man. They hit on him at 26th overall. Then 13, they started to draft some weapons, man. They started to draft some weapons. And DeAndre Hopkins is not who you really, he's not the player you thought he was going to be at 27, in my opinion. Right? I'm thinking, all right, I want to say Dre was still there. Was Dre still there? Was Dre still there? Let me see that final roster. Dre still there? Yeah, so Andre Johnson was still there. So you knew they was looking for a number two, right? But the fact that he turned out to be a great receiver lets you know how good he really was. Okay? This is a hit. So let me just start right there. But seeing this production, right? You telling me you don't sign him long term and keep him for your quarterback, Deshaun Watson? You telling me you don't do that? You telling me, you telling me that you get rid of a guy that is coming off. We're talking the 2020 season when he got traded to the Cardinals. He's coming off a year where he had 100 catches, 7 touchdowns, and 1,100 yards. In the season before that, he was the best receiver in football. And you trade him to the Cardinals for a bag of chips. When you talk about one-hit wonders, that's what David Johnson was. A one-hit wonder. A one-hit wonder. That is exactly what you traded him for. It made no sense. If you trade him in 2016, okay. You trade him in 2016. I am fully okay with that trade because he looked like he was one of the best running backs in the league. I would still be hesitant, but he still looked like he was one of the best running backs in the league. We talking 1,000 plus and almost 1,000 plus receiving. Some good running backs, some Hall of Fame running backs that have done that shit. Now I would have traded him then. But to sit here and tell me that you would trade an all pro receiver for David Johnson's production in 2019 makes no sense at all. And only an idiot would do that. And I'm going to show y'all that idiot. Bill O'Brien. That's the idiot. That's the idiot. Now, Bill O'Brien was at Alabama, so y'all know how I feel about Bill O'Brien, right? But he took over this team and they was cool when he was just the head coach. He took over this team. Let's just do that. He took over that team in 2014. Pretty good team. You're trying to figure some shit out, and we trying to do what it do, right? But when he became GM, I want to say, what was that? 2018, 2019, he became GM. That's the move an inexperienced GM would have made. That's the move an inexperienced GM would have made, bro. Because you can't tell me coming off of that production and then looking at David Johnson, and that's what you would trade for David Johnson. It's somebody that didn't know what they was doing. That's what that is. I can't. I just even when I think about it, it still doesn't make any sense to this day. It made no sense. A fourth round pick for David Johnson, a second round pick, and a fourth. Robbery is what that was. And I honestly feel like it was about money. But when you think about the production, you gotta pay for that. You gotta pay for that. And he just decided to go to the Arizona Cardinals and double up on what he did. Probably playing a little mad. Um, he either got suspended or hurt or something like that. But still, still productive though. Still productive even the second year. And then the Titans, all they did was hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, and he still got 1,000 yards. Got to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Um, Down year for Mahomes and everybody else, man. But he's on my Ravens now, so he's gonna get his 1,000 yard catch. I mean, 1,000 catch in his career with us. Knock on wood, no injuries. I love to see that. That's gonna be a cool last moment for him and his peoples. But DeAndre Hopkins was a hit, man. I'm sorry, I gotta go on these long tangents about the Houston Texans and everything, man, because some of the shit they did makes no sense, man. But this made sense, man. 2014, they get Jadeveon Clowney, one of the best players, one of the best high school players, one of the best college players, especially in terms of potential and star power, man. I thought drafting him first overall in 2014, pairing him with defensive player of the year, J.J. Watt was going to create this crazy combo where they was just going to sack the quarterback all day. You couldn't block nobody, and it didn't necessarily turn out like that. There was some high moments where they looked like they was about to be the best duo, and then not so much. It didn't work out for that, you know. So I'm not gonna call it a because I want to say he had like microfracture knee surgery, which is like something you can't, that's something you ain't supposed to be playing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't supposed to play no more after that shit, you know. But he ended up having that shit, and it kind of fucked his career up, man. But at the end of his Houston run, you started to see him kind of kick it into another gear. And he's been good on every team he's been on after that. I mean, Seattle was kind of rough, I would say. But then you get to Tennessee and didn't really do nothing. But then Cleveland, he kicked it into another gear. And the year he had in Baltimore, he kicked it into another gear. And then last year, he was with Carolina, and he still was productive. So I ain't gonna call it a hit. I mean, I ain't gonna call it like a miss, but it's a hit because he was damn near productive, pretty good, especially later on. So not exactly what you expected, but it was a hit nonetheless. So 2015, they got Kevin Johnson out of Wake Forest. He was only with the Texans for 4 seasons. Didn't really do anything. Didn't play most of the time. It probably was just a nickel dude. But still, even with a nickel guy, there's really no production there. So that's not really a hit. But I guess if you're a nickel guy and you're trying to play some more, I guess I don't know. So 2016 they draft Will Fuller the fifth. I thought he was gonna be really good. Seeing his highlight tape at Notre Dame, I'm thinking he gonna be one of those ones. He gonna be good, man. But he had some trouble with drop passes, one. And staying healthy was an issue. Like I said, you're still in the era where I wanna say, is Andre still in there? No, Andre left. So you still got DeAndre Hopkins on the team. So you're trying to transfer him into a two, right? But really he's a three. He's a slot guy, right? But take the top off the defense kind of dude. So he was okay. Like I said, I don't call him a bust or anything. But like I said, there were some availability issues and he dropped the ball a little bit. But you see these long ass touchdowns, right? 70, 70, 50, 50. So he's like a big play receiver, right? But like I said, I ain't gonna call it a miss. I'm gonna call it a miss because it could have been a whole lot better, but shit happens sometimes, right? So 2017, 12th overall, they end up getting Deshaun Watson, one of the best college players ever. I mean, he had a crazy run with the Texans, bro. I mean, three Pro Bowls in a row, including being a passing yards leader in 2020. Was he a national champion? Yeah, he was national champion. Okay. Because he beat us, right? But this is like top five in the league type shit, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, and he signed a new deal. And if you notice the trend when it comes to spending money, the Texans are cheap as fuck. Okay, and he got a big contract, which he deserved, being 4-12, leading the league in passing, touchdowns, passer rating, completion percentage, and you only win 4 games. Yeah, he should have got paid, but he didn't want to be there no more, and I don't blame him. So then he goes through his little issue, with massage parlors and things like that. But Cleveland hasn't been the best run at all. He's 29 and he's been through that. So I want to see him come back and be healthy. But as far as with the Texans, this was a hit. No pick in 2018 because they moved up to get Deshaun Watson. So then Titus Howard, they end up drafting him. He's still there and he started every game for them. So he's into the CJ Stroud era, right? So no pick in 2020 or 2021, and they trade that away to get Laramie Tunsil, right? So Laramie Tunsil is now with the Commanders, but when he was with the Texans, he was pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. That trade worked the fuck out, man. It did. You might have been mad if you're Deshaun Watson that you gave up a lot, but you ain't get hit that much. You ain't get hit that much. Why? Because Laramie Tunsil was doing his thug thizzle for y'all. 4 Pro Bowls, like good, good as hell. Started every game, like so. It ain't work out like you wanted to, but he was good, right? So Deshaun Watson's gone now. So he entered the CJ Stroud era, right? But it starts with Derek Stingley getting picked third overall. Obviously, he's still there. One of the top paid cornerbacks in the league. Production is there. 5 picks the last 2 seasons. So guess what? You do the math. That's 10, right? There you go. All pro last season, Pro Bowler, national championship on the LSU team in 2019. So he was good. He knew he was good. He was starting like as a true freshman, so he knew he was good. Right, but he couldn't cover my boy Smitty though. Smitty got the best though. But nonetheless, man, that's just a jab at LSU, man. But he's good as fuck, man. And then I had another pick, Kenyon Green, who's actually on the Eagles right now. So he didn't really have, I guess, much time with them, in my opinion. But he did play. He's out with the injury, but he's on the Eagles now. So going into this season, so he was good. He started all the games he did play. But hey, I can't blame him. That's a good pick, right? Should be good for the Eagles as well. So 2023, they hit the jackpot. When you get offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year, that's a good draft. That's a good draft, man. So, CJ Stroud, man, obviously, the rumor was you got, what's the name? Let's go. Let's go to it. Let's go to it. No need to guess. No need to guess. Let's go to it. So, the thing was, it was either going to be CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, right? So, I guess the Panthers was reading the tea leaves and they thought somebody was going to take Bryce Young. So they traded up to get him, thinking that I guess the other team was going to get him before they did. And it's worked out. We went over the Panthers a little bit earlier. And Bryce Young's been okay. But CJ Stroud to this point has been the better quarterback, right? But um, he also had the better team. He also had the better team. Right? So let's be honest. I was stupid enough to pick the Carolina Panthers to win the NFC South, man, and they were absolute trash. I didn't know they were that bad. I'll be honest with you. I thought they had some really good players. But CJ Stroud walked into a pretty good team, right? That was only missing the quarterback. Um, and he walked into a pretty good situation, man. So this was a hit beyond belief. They went to the playoffs. Like I said, lost to the Ravens, but he was damn good, right? Looked like he was gonna be one of those ones. So then he kind of took a step back in year two, a sophomore slump. That's just what it is, right? You end up losing to the Chiefs in the playoffs, man, but you still get there, right? I want to say they won the division. Did they win the AFC South? Yeah. So they probably gonna win it again this year because I don't think any other team is gonna upset them in that division. The Colts suck. The Jaguars suck. And who was in that division? The Colts suck. So they should be number one in that division. But then they got Will Anderson. They went to that Alabama well again. And Will Anderson is one of the best college football players ever. I see a college football Hall of Fame in his career at some point. CJ Stroud was pretty damn good in college too, by the way. But production increased in terms of sacks. That's what I like from defensive end, outside linebacker. Um, Duke Cole, both of them. But they move up to get Will Anderson, which was a great move. And then what happened first? Let me see what happened first. Let's get into some other shit, right? Before we get into what I think they should do in this draft. Um, some other stuff that happened around this time. Um, so this season was bad. Lovey Smith was just there for a minute, but he won that last game just to stick it to him a little bit. Be like, I ain't gonna get that first overall pick or whatever, you know. Then they hired David Culley. That was just kind of to hold it down for a minute until they could get, I guess, the guy that they really wanted, per se. Um, but then, like I said, Lovey Smith was there, and then 2023 when they got C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, they hired D'Amico Ryans. And D'Amico Ryans, if you know, he played with the Texans for a good little minute and worked his way up to defensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. And now he's the head coach of them, right? He was defensive rookie of the year, all pro, pro bowler. So he's a pretty good ass player in the NFL, man. And now he's got a chance to run the show. Former Alabama player under Mike Shula. Good player. And he knows what it means to be a Houston Texan. And so far, he's got them. He's got them rolling. He's got them rolling, man. And no pick this year, or should I say, 2024. They have no pick. And 2025. Let's see. They got a pick this year. They do. So they picking 25th overall. So you could go a couple ways here. You could go offensive lineman because you got to replace Tunsil at some point. You could also go defensive lineman too because there's gonna be a couple dudes there. You got them Georgia dudes that might slip a little bit. Then you got James Pierce who might be good. You can go interior lineman Tyler Booker. You could also go linebacker as well. You could get Jahai Campbell. He might slip. Then you got other guys like Will Johnson. He could slip. Probably won't be able to get another receiver for real that you really like T Mac or whatever. But you got to get another receiver because Tank Dell looked like he can't stay healthy. He been hurt the last couple seasons. So you're gonna need to replace that. So you could go Luther Burden, maybe if he's there. Um, you could do that. I don't think Golden's gonna be there. I think somebody gonna pick him up early. Um, so you could go a lot of different ways. You could go a lot of different ways, man. But they need some stuff, particularly on like linebacker, defensive end. Excuse me. And then you could get like I said, Luther Burden at receiver. Because like I said, you need a replacement for Tank Dell, man. Even if he does play, you gotta have something there just in case, right? So I'm thinking that at 25, man. So, but that's your Houston Texans, bro. That's your Houston Texans draft history, man. So when I give my assessment, dog, I think under Bill O'Brien, they didn't do well drafting for real. Well, I can't say that. I'm sorry, I can't say that. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair, man. I'm not gonna do that. I ain't gonna let my dislike for Bill O'Brien cloud my judgment a little bit, man. I'm trying to figure out when he was there, man. Because Kubiak did step down after a while. Yeah, he got fired after a 2-11 start, which is, that's just what happens. See, so Bill O'Brien took over in 14. So Kubiak was all of this. So he ain't draft J.J. Watt. So he started drafting like Clowney and stuff. So all right, so the Bill O'Brien era, there was some good players there too. But underneath the D'Amico Ryans era, it's been roses. They hit on a whole lot of dudes so far. But the overall history of the Houston Texans draft picks since their inception in 2002 has been pretty damn good. You got a lot of Pro Bowlers. You got a couple Hall of Famers. Couple guys that might be Hall of Famers. So they hit on a lot of dudes, man. So the drafting in the first round hasn't been a problem for the Houston Texans thus far. It's probably been the later draft picks. Have you found anything? But the fact that they've had a few really good seasons, 12 wins a couple times, or at least once, I think. But they made it to, I want to say, an AFC title game. The Houston Texans have definitely drafted pretty well in the first round. So that's how I feel about that. Um, Let me know how y'all feel about the Houston Texans. I know I went on a ramble about David Carr, man, but I really believe in dude. I thought he was good. I love playing with the Texans on Madden. So I enjoyed David Carr, Andre Johnson. I enjoyed what's the name, Mario Williams, D'Amico Ryans, right? Aaron Glenn back in the day, Corey Bradford, Jabbar Gaffney, like those guys. I really enjoy playing with those guys on Madden and stuff like that. So the Texans is near and dear to my heart. Not a Houston Texans fan, but growing up and having a chance to witness an expansion team just grow, whether it be by draft picks, free agents, coaching changes, things like that. Just to see a team grow, that's pretty cool, in my opinion. But let me know what y'all think about the Houston Texans, what they should do in this year's draft, how you feel about CJ Stroud, how you feel about the Texans organization as a whole, man. We love feedback, we love conversation, man. So let us know in the comment section below. But I'm your boy Cam, and we're gonna our next team should be the Indianapolis Colts, and that should be really fun, baby. That's gonna be fun because they had some hits, they also had some misses, and you gotta incorporate the Peyton Manning era as well. So we're going to talk about them next, man. But until then, this has been the Football Frame of Mind, and I want to thank you for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one. But before I go, one more thing. Like and subscribe, man. That's all. That's all I said. That's all I need. Like and subscribe. It's free, easy, helps us, helps you. Bye.